Morning, everyone. Let me check on the energy first. You are the first batch, is it? It's your orientation, no? So where is the energy that we need to see? Because if you're not energetic, then we'll find that either you have been forced into joining this course, and if that was your choice, I think, as Rashmi ma'am said, it's going to be very tedious for you. So you can change in case you want to, but in case your energy needs to be visible, it needs to be vibrant. We need to hear a good morning which will resonate in this room for quite some time. So good morning. Good morning. That's it. That's much better. Thank you so much. Rashmi ma'am, thank you so much. Professor Subbarao sir, he's like a father figure to me, and in the legal fraternity, his name knows no introduction, so I would leave it to the comparers to do their job. Fine. All deputy deans sitting here, Ravindran sir, esteemed faculty members, dear students who have joined this legacy of VIPS, and the legacy, when we say legacy of VIPS, some of it has been, told to you by Rashmi ma'am when she said so many, judicial officers, so many advocates on record. But I think our legacy is much more than what, possibly titles or entitlements that you get. It is about the philosophy that is ingrained in this institution. And that philosophy is that of Swamiji. And some of the things that I noticed when we mentioned Gita, it's not just about Gita as one holy book or belonging to one religion. It is about every religion that teaches you, greatness. It is about exploring your own self. It is unfolding your own personality. It is knowing your own self at a deeper level. Yes, lawyering or lawyers or, advocates would be a profession that you'll join in. But you are much beyond, this. You're human beings who would shape, this century, as I would say. Next 40 years would belong to you. So if you're not dreaming about those 40 years that you need to live your life, fine, as a purposeful life which will give meaning to this country, to the law that exists in this country, I think you should not just join to get this degree here. It's much more than a degree. As I keep repeating, it's much more than a degree that you would possibly want to earn. Fine, I would go into finer points of what lawyering would all mean. Initially, one of the comparer mentioned that this was the beautiful invocation of Ma Saraswati was done by a Department of Music. Do we have a Department of Music or a Society for Music? And why I tell you this is because I'll make you laugh for that very reason, because how words, can, give a different meaning to the context that you are being placed in. And that is where your language skills, much more than the law that you would know, your lawyering skills, your language skills, your body language, your presentation style, your dressing up style, your pleasing demeanor, in the court would sway the court in your favor. And can anybody tell me the difference between, finished and complete? Anybody? Finished and complete? These are two simple words, English words. Why is it so difficult? You've cleared your CLAT, no? So what's the difference between finished and complete? Nobody in the audience.
So this is when something is come to an end. Where complete is it's in the process. It's complete, but it's not an end. There's no end.
Okay. Anybody else? Now I'll give you a very simple one. Fine. And you'll possibly laugh over it. So if you marry the right girl, you are complete. If you marry the wrong girl, you are finished. So which one are you? So that's the beauty of language. You need to understand that, it's not just about quoting law. There's enough law which you can Google out nowadays. Maybe go to, any of the search engines to look for information. But what you do with that information is much more important. How you interpret law is more important. and looking for that crucial information, that key piece of information that will, either make your case or break your case, is what is more important. As I mentioned, Gita, our logo, it states Yog Karmisu Kaushalam, which some interpret it into in pursuit of perfection. Others say it is about equanimity in action, which is, the thread line, which again, as somebody said, Chairman sir would like to hold special sessions with you students to educate you about certain life skills which would not be dispensed in any of the classrooms. And those life skills are that even in spite of the best of, arguments that you've had in the court of law, you may still lose a case. And you may be mad, you may be angry within, you may be frustrated with the things around you, but then you need to maintain your balance. And how do you maintain your balance? And how do you come back, fight it back, maybe appeal in a higher court, is all coming through, people call it by different names. Some call it by emotional intelligence. Gita has just stated it in one beautiful shloka, which is given out, which is very important for any human being, a leader. This passionate approach towards your cases will give you an insight which is much more valuable, because emotionally investing yourself into cases is okay, but then overboarding your cases is something which will tear you apart. Fine, you will lose your, as they say, you will lose your wisdom in the way, because you get so blinded by passion. And passion, normally we speak of passion to be, something very good. But at times it can be very destructive in emotion, because when you are over passionate about certain things, you lose sight of, what needs to be a realistic assessment of a case. So you have to learn a lot in terms of, and your journey has just begun. Don't think that it will end in 5 years. In 5 years, you will reach an important milestone, but then learning is a lifelong journey nowadays. You cannot just put a pause or a hyphen or a, semicolon. You have to begin, you have to be a constant learner all throughout your life to make a meaningful, this profession a meaningful profession for yourself. You have to read across subjects. Don't think that reading about just law will help you out. There's a lot out there that you need to cross-reference. You need to see whether people who are coming in testimony are actually telling you the truth or not telling you the truth about a particular thing. May it be medical science, may it be commercial laws, may it be how commercial laws are dealt with. You have to deal with a lot of human emotions, a lot of crimes that you see, and the under trials who are there. And somebody mentioned the pendency of cases. You look at, hear their stories out, how under difficult circumstances, social, economic circumstances, they were led into a crime. And when you start looking at those angles, you'll start to cry at the apathy of human, existence. How difficult it is for certain people. We are privileged that we are sitting here in an air-conditioned room. Fine, we have certain privileges where we can talk about law. But it's difficult for those very people to even live a single dignified day with, whatever has been enshrined in our Constitution from Article 14 to 21. If I have to say, if I miss some of them, I don't know. I'm not a law expert, so I would leave it for. But then, where do we exist? There was an MOU which we signed with director of Indian Institute of Public Administration a few days back. He was mentioning about, because they were being given this assignment called Namami Gange. So their entire initiative is about how to clean Ganga and do research papers and whatnot. COVID taught us a very important lesson, that you shut down all human activities and we'll cure ourselves. We don't need you. And that was the answer that was given by nature itself. But we did not hear it out. Fine. And he said, and he mentioned it, that we have overvalued, places in the world which are just concrete jungles, and we undervalue our jungles which provide breathing spaces to you. So what should be the valuation model? What should be the economic model for, coming out with such cases? Should we not put a premium price on the amount of forest that we have, and nobody can possibly, get those lands? Since you are BBA students, I don't know how much you know about commercial laws and the kind of, cases that have been decided in the past. Few of them I would mention for the reason because it makes little interesting, in terms of what you are entering into. And it goes to BLLB also, so nothing specific to BBLLB. As I said, you have to understand law to its entirety. You cannot leave it in places, in bits and places, and quote just sections. There's an entire commentary around and how things have developed in the past. And as I said, you need to know about sociology, you need to know about history, you need to know about, the Ram Janmabhoomi case decided on what facts? You need to understand what was the deciding factor. Why was it called a property case or an individual entitlement case? Needs to be understood very clearly. Why is it being done in that particular manner? Fine. So we have had cases in pharmaceutical industry. Glaxo. How many of you have heard of the company? Our generation would possibly know. Rest of you who are here would not even know what Glaxo did. There was a $206 billion US, first. I don't know what you call it here. Those are called very different in America. So, but then why it was done was because one of their antidepressant which was being sold said that it could cure depression. Whereas on the other hand, your clinical trials produced showed that it led to 627 times more probability of, you're getting into depression and even suicidal tendencies. So there are pharmaceutical companies who are lying blatantly on your face. Coronil was one another example which I should not, otherwise it will lead to another kind of a litigation. I don't want to blame anybody here. But you know how Coronil was being sold here without clinical trials? The Indian Medical Association went out and tore into their arguments that you cannot do this kind of a job here. At least that was a stand that was taken. And there was no litigation filed on it. I wish we can have many more litigations like this here and tell people that you cannot take us for a ride, especially when it comes to medical, when it comes to pharmaceuticals. Fine. Apple fighting a case against Samsung for that matter. You know the case? Has anybody read? Read all these cases. These are cases which will be eye-openers to you. They'll tell you what, people are. People, and this is where I say, it is responsible citizenship. It is not just about, filing a case for the sake of filing a case. Because there are people who are so, informed about their rights, fine, that they take those, initiatives and take on the big, names in the industry and bring them down. There was another one which possibly is related to a diabetic tablet. Fine. It was a Japanese firm, I don't remember the name. Fine. Promised that it will cure you of your diabetic condition, but ultimately clinical trials proved that this will lead to colon cancer. And it was not disclaimed anywhere. Philip Morris, anybody knows cigarettes? I know many of you would be smoking outside. So, till a recent, lawsuit which was filed against them, that's the major brand which owns all cigarette brands, fine. So, till the time they could, the doctor's opinion also, fine, to say that no, cigarette smoking is safe. It's not that, injurious to health. Now they have started writing that it can kill and it can cause cancer. There's a direct attribution of tobacco smoking to, killing somebody. And when that happened, there was a lawsuit, the biggest in the history of, any lawsuit that happened on the commercial side. And they had to admit, Volkswagen went on to claim, we have, these cars coming in now. Somebody say that it is X compliant, Y compliant, Z compliant, fine. They were pointed out by a court because they rigged their results and said that no, we are compliant to such and such environmental, specifications. So you never know what is being hidden from you, what truth is being hidden from you, what truth is being sold to you on advertisements. If you are aware Have you ever carefully read any of the, the bottles or medicines that you take or your parents take? What are the ingredients there? Have you ever carefully read those ingredients? And what can it cause as a harm to you? And there's a list. I can go on elaborating on that list. Fine. To tell how people have cheated on you in a massive scale. Fine. And these are big corporations, I'm telling you, where there's no dearth of big lawyers. Fine. Even at times judiciary gets swayed by what they do. They have, something called lobbyists who would possibly sponsor a campaign, fine, and do a deliberate, media coverage of it, so that everything that looks, on the other side of the law is completely negated. You are up for a battle each day in case you have the spine to, and you can only have that spine when you have character. If you do not have character, and I do not mean character means only about certain qualities of, you need to have the spine to be truthful to yourself, to your client, and to the cause that you have started pursuing. There will be pressures mounted on you each day, even by your own colleagues, batchmates, seniors, your peers. The most celebrated of, lawyers may come to you, approach to you in your chambers to tell you to kind of mellow down your stand. But then will you buckle? Will be your call one day. And that's where I said legacy is much more bigger than what you see. The legacy that you will create will be of this kind of character that you will exhibit when you fight those cases out. No matter whether it will be civil case or a criminal case or a corporate lawyer, as in your capacity as a corporate lawyer, how much are you able to whistle blow is going to be a challenge. Within a company also, as legal officers, how much can you whistle blow? There are enough movies around it. I don't know whether you've seen Pelican Brief. My generation would know. I don't know. None of them? Pelican Brief? It was about the oil spill that used to happen. Fine. BP was fined. British Petroleum was fined. Mexican oil spill. It kind of, that oil spill, they were trying to minimize the damage that was being quoted out there. But then you look at the kind of extinction that happened in that particular area, the kind of, the loss of, a variety of fishes that we lost, the coral reef that we lost, is a complete disaster, natural disaster. Whatever we see today, there was a report in WHO which stated, anybody who's living in Delhi has shortened his or her life by 11 years. How many of you are an activist here and can take these authorities to task and say, no, I have a life to, live a healthy life and a life to dignity. And this cannot happen to me. How can you allow this to happen? We all pay toll tax, no? Fast tags. But then do you know it has a fine disclaimer to it? Do you see any hospitals on those toll roads? Any breakup vans do you see? Those are mandatory provisions to be provided for. In case of a medical emergency, there need to be a hospital, there need to be a basic, the potholes that you see on these 80 miles an hour if you are traveling and there's a pothole in between on a road which is toll taxed. Fine, you ask any of the road security, safety and security person, they'll tell you it will be almost death if you fall into that pothole or your car kind of gets damaged. But then we don't care. We are okay with it. We never ever bother to go beyond our, sight, the physical sight. It is about critically analyzing. Why are they charging me this toll? Have they given me the quality of roads that I expected them to give me? Are there medical facilities lined up alongside? So that in case of any emergency, I can possibly go and ask NHAI and say, no, that's the basic minimum that is required to be done. There was a telephone line, if you would have seen the first toll that came in on the Jaipur highway, they had given telephone lines as SOS numbers. None of them function. So what do you expect? Had it been somewhere abroad, they would have by now filed a case against them. But then I'm not saying that you be habitual litigants here, please. That is not my intention. But then there's a lot to be done in terms of what we can achieve in a law school and not just look at only certain provisions of the section. There's a whole lot of ambit of law. Moon Treaty, how many of you? Chandrayaan, everybody was excited? There's a moon treaty. What is the moon treaty about? What is the moon treaty about? Somebody said, Hindu Rashtra bana do. I don't know whether you heard it or not. Those are funny comments, but then again, what was the moon treaty all about? When was it signed? What does it say? Why can't we land on a particular area of the moon? How the rights have been restricted, why it has been restricted, what all can be done under the moon treaty, who can colonize, who cannot colonize. So we were all happy about moon, landing on the moon, Chandrayaan 3. But then what beyond that? What are we exploring? The number of satellites that you see, and I'm coming to artificial intelligence thereafter. So don't worry, 5 more minutes and I'll finish it off. So the number of satellites, how many countries can send satellites? N number? Then there is no restriction, then let anybody be, because the kind of debris that is getting collected in the outer space is a cause of worry now for people. And why is it a cause of worry? So how many satellites can go up? And what kind of satellites can go up? These are issues that you need to explore, because if mankind has started exploring moon and other, celestial bodies, I think you need to expand your knowledge horizons as well. Don't limit yourself. That is our request to you, because the legacy, as I said, goes beyond these 4 walls, this institution name. The legacy is with you people, as I said, 40 years more to go. There'll be another batch joining in another 40 years. So we keep multiplying our legacy. We are not shortening it, we are extending it further. But then with quality of lawyers. As ma'am said, there is a competition which is heating up. Why are we averse to competition? Why don't we have the courage to say, no, we'll face it, let it come? Why do we need protection laws? Once we say we are globalized, why should you not have the right to go abroad and practice? And others also have the right, so that there is a lot of learning that happens in the process. Why are we limiting ourselves? Why are we limiting our courts? You've seen Supreme Court, hearings, the 370 happening in the court live. How many of you have seen that? That is what I'm saying. You wanting to be lawyers, I don't know what was your compelling reasons. But then, did you see the arguments presented by all leading advocates there? Kapil Sibbalji, I think, you have Tushar Mehta, you have others. You look at the quality of arguments that are going on. What are they questioning? And sir, I think Subbarao sir will be much better to give a commentary on that, because he has complete insights into what possibly can go wrong and why are they interpreting it wrongly also. Artificial intelligence. How many of you would possibly bother to know about artificial intelligence? What is it? Is it just a fad? It is something which will, peripherally touch your lives? Or are you more keen on knowing what all can it bring to me? Not as a lawyer, as a human being also. It is touching almost every aspect of your life now. Fine. Data theft, your own personal data security, fine. The kind of pilferages that will happen, fine. There's a hue and cry around that argument. And companies are collecting data every day, whether you allow them, whether you don't allow them. You may not be aware of it also. They may be doing it, without your consent. And you are freely giving away your personal lives and giving them a whole window into what your personal life. They will send you exactly the referencing model in what you call YouTubes and other Netflix and everything. They call it the referencing model. They exactly know what you are looking for next. And their suggestions would only come, around those movies or around those programs that you're looking at. What is it? It is not gathering intelligence about you. Do you think it is lesser a crime that they are gathering everything about you? So artificial intelligence coming a big way. There's a big wave, tsunami coming your way, I'm telling you. If you don't know what are the integrities of it, and you limit yourself to it is not taught in our classroom, I can't help it. Go beyond the classroom. Who stops you? We don't want to scare you. But point is, if you are not prepared the way the world expects you to prepare, nobody will hire you. I'm telling you. And if you want to be one of the, person sitting at the, see, when Ratan Tata wanted to join in Tata, he was told that you go to the shop floor. The shop floors are the district courts here, where you understand what trials are all about and how they're done. So you'll understand what the policeman is all about, how manipulative can he be at times, fine. What the other lawyers can, possibly play around you with a trick. Those are training grounds for you. Don't think that if you're practicing lower courts that you're not good. People have, the best of lawyers have started from trials and went on to become what they are. So these are few of the thoughts that I thought I'll share with you so that you become part of this extended family and legacy, and you make us proud tomorrow when we have many more orientations here. Some of your name would be, on the board there, either in the gold medalist list or in advocates on record or the judges, and many more, fine, accomplishments to your credit. So, and we'll all clap for you then, fine? So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. It was wonderful. Thank you.